creative freelancers and solopreneurs. Let's talk about time. Let's talk about time management. Let's talk about time planning. Let's talk about what to do when your plans don't go the way that you want them to. Let's talk about how you can lean in and leverage one of the most valuable resources that we have as creative services freelancers after our skills, talent, and experience, of course. Welcome to Coaching for Creatives. I'm McKay, and I am your host. I'm also the founder and lead instructor at Business of Creativity, where we focus on giving you, the creative services freelancer, the training, the resources, and support that you need to take meaningful action to master your business. One of the things that we focus on is supporting you to take consistent action, to set yourself up for success, to have enough time to get everything done in the day, to actually feel like you can do your work and have a life, and that it's not all 24/7, just grind, do all the things, never have any space to breathe. Many of us look at our time, look at our schedule, and think, I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. Today, I want to talk to you about that. There's a shift that has happened that I think we do need to acknowledge, first off, which is that our capacity for getting stuff done may have been diminished over the last couple of years. Part of our capacity to get things done, to take meaningful actions, comes from, yes, having the time available to do it, but also having the energy, the bandwidth, the ability to focus on it, to get into the flow, to be creative, to come up with ideas. Many of us are fatigued, and we are balancing a lot of different input and emotions and different things that are going on in our lives. What used to work for you last year, or maybe even the year before, may not be as effective this year. Even if you feel like you've got some skills and some tools in your toolbox, I encourage you to stay tuned and see if I might be able to help you overcome some of your challenges. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to time? Drop it in the comments. I want to know, what are you facing? What is the audience that is listening to these Coaching for Creative sessions? What are you right up against when it comes to time? Many people who are in the Business Accelerator Mastermind group, they find that what happens is that they're not getting enough time for their personal lives. That what seems to happen is that fun and fulfillment and rest and restoration goes to the bottom of the priority list. They're not getting that stuff done. Some people are smack up against just struggle in terms of managing all of the work that they have to do, which I know it's a funny problem to have. I have so much work, I don't know how to get it done. There's a challenge when we don't really know how long projects are going to take, and we aren't able to save space in our production schedule for those projects. Then the third thing that comes up for a lot of people is that they do all the things. They do all the things. They use the tools. They do the time blocking. They schedule Pomodoros. They work with their calendars. And then something goes completely wrong. I had one of my colleagues today share that he had his whole day planned out. He was ready to go. He was going to be super efficient, going to be able to end early and go do something fun. Then boom, completely out of left field, one of his clients calls him into a meeting that is a mandatory meeting, and he cannot miss it. Wasn't on the schedule, wasn't planned, not something that he felt comfortable saying no to. Now, what do? How do you go with the flow? How do you adjust your brilliantly planned schedule to accommodate those things that are the kind of one-offs or that come out of the blue? That's the conversation today. Just waiting to see if anybody has any comments or thoughts. Flora, thanks for joining me live. I see you don't do any of those organization things, which is awesome, because one of the things that I do want to address here is that most of the time when it comes to time, or managing our time or managing our energy, there are a lot of different approaches that are out there. Sometimes as creatives, we can feel pressured to run our business or to set up our business in some specific way. Often as creatives, that some specific way feels like a constraint, or it feels like effort, or it feels like we're being squished into a box, or it feels like we're having to do too much of the organization stuff, the different side of the brain that doesn't seem as intuitive to us. I can completely understand if you are a creative and you're like, I don't want to organize my time, I don't want to even think about a schedule. I totally get it. For you and Flora, I'm sure that you're doing great with it. I see the solution that you've created is that you've outsourced. You've actually hired a virtual assistant, which is fantastic. That is an excellent way to be able to manage your time, is to hire someone else to manage it for you. I know that for me, part of why I became a freelancer was to have some autonomy and control over my schedule. For other people, that just occurs as a total nightmare. Absolutely recommend hiring a virtual assistant for that. The other piece of it is when you look at how you work, sometimes what happens for us is that as creatives, we're not really paying attention to how much of our time and energy that we have to invest in each of our projects. We often think about just the production work, just the design work, just the photography work. Maybe we think about some of the post-production. Maybe we consider some of the revisions that might have to come in back and forth. Often what happens is that we're not really clear on what our capacity is in any given month. In the first place, we don't actually know how many clients can we serve based on how much time and energy it takes to serve them completely. Not just the production work or the design work, but also looking into meetings and revisions and answering emails and all of those other pieces that goes to doing that. Even if you hate organizing, I highly recommend that you get crystal clear on how much time and energy each client or each project would take for you and what your capacity is for clients while still maintaining time and energy for the rest of your business activities and for your life. In fact, in my whole way of thinking, I prioritize the life and the lifestyle first. If I am going to schedule anything, I always schedule all my personal time and playtime first. Folks, I want to share with you my calendar. I am going to share my calendar. This is from 2019. This is pre-pandemic calendar. I want to just show you how I leverage multiple different calendars over here on the left and how I schedule and block some time with the intention that maybe this is helpful for you. So what I do is I like colors because I'm a visual person. I find that it gives me more immediate information. I'm working here on iCal, but you can do this with Google Cal or other calendars as well. You can set up multiple different kinds of calendars for different types of work that you might be doing. I've got coaching, office works, planning and preparation, speaking and networking. I've got just a plain old time blocking. We've got personal here. We can see that each of these has different colors. I'm also have Google calendars for each of my programs so that my clients and participants can sync those calendars, automatically add them to their schedule. It becomes an easier way to be able to share some of these calendars here. Same principle. Each calendar has its different color so that I can just at a glance see what has been scheduled for my day. I can see when there is marketing stuff. I can see if I've got brown, then I'm doing some coaching. When I look over here and if I don't see any green, I know I'm not having any fun. I need to add some green to my world. If I don't see any brown, I know that I'm not making any money, that I need to add some income earning to my month or to my week. What happens is, let's say, for instance, I want to create a time block. So often I put time blocks just to give me some buffer between things. I'm not always great at estimating exactly what's going to work. Putting some buffer between things. I can also time block up where I can say, you know what, I just want 2 hours. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, but I want it to be blocked off my schedule so that I don't do anything else. Let's say something comes up. I just take those 2 hours and I can move them to a different part of my calendar. What I'm offering you is, yes, plan in advance, and best case scenario, pick the same day every week and plan your week in advance. For me, I like to look at Sundays or first thing Monday morning to plan my week before I get hijacked by other people's emails or ideas or needs. I plan my week out. I'm often planning 1, 2, 3, and even 6 months in advance so that my calendar starts to be populated. For me, instead of freaking me out with like too much stuff going on, what that actually does is it helps me to feel like I have purpose, that I know what I'm going to be doing, that I have something on the books, that I'm going to be motivated to be more proactive at how I use my time and energy instead of just winging it and not really knowing what I'm going to be doing. Time blocking for me is a way of just holding space for something. I can time block specifically for activities by using the different colors of my calendar. I can time block for marketing. I can time block for email and admin. It's just holding space during my week so that I get some of that stuff done. I'm mindful of, you know what, I'm not going to book 3 more meetings because I can tell I've already got so many meetings that I don't know that I'm going to have the energy for that meeting. Or looking at my week, I can see, oh, I'm doing a lot of creative stuff this week. I need to move some creative stuff to the next week because I'm going to burn out. I'm not going to necessarily be able to be creative on call every single day this week. Really setting yourself up for success, being mindful of your focus, being mindful of your energy, scheduling things when you have the most creative juju, schedule the creative stuff. When you have the stuff that you don't really need your creativity and your juice for, schedule it for another time. Maybe when you're watching movies with your family, or maybe when you're just doing laundry and you can go through your to-do list at the same time. I don't know. I like to multitask. That's another way I use my time. There's other techniques, things like Pomodoros, which I do definitely in my time blocking. A Pomodoro is where you set a timer for 20 or 25 minutes and you just focus on one thing at a time. I often find that gives me way more juice to get through things than it does if I just pick away at it and check Facebook at the same time and all those kinds of things. Getting back to how can you lean into your productive times, your creative times, scheduling and time block. How can you go with the flow when something changes and your plan doesn't go how you think it's going to do? Open up your calendar and take those things that you did have planned and move them so that they stay in your calendar, they stay scheduled, they stay having space with them, and they don't get forgotten. It's just a super easy, move it around and keep it in there so that it stays doable. Because basically the last piece of this is if you decide to use an organization tool, whether it's hiring a virtual assistant like Flora does, or scheduling your own stuff like I do, the main thing is you need to look at your schedule. I've had people where I coach them, they create these great schedules, they do all this kind of stuff, and then they don't even look at the schedule. I guarantee you, Flora, that if your virtual assistant made you a schedule and you didn't look at it, she would be wagging your finger at you, because the schedule only works when we follow it. It's not the boss of you. It's not the law. It's not what you have to do. It's just creating space in your time and your life and letting you think about in advance, where do you want to invest your time and your energy? Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to hear what your tips are or your challenges are when it comes to time scheduling and going with the flow. I'm Ora McKay. I'm the founder of Business of Creativity.